The BTC Racing Line for the fans.
Hello and welcome to the BTC Racing Line. This is podcast number 3 for what would have been our trip to Silverstone for rounds 7, 8 and 9. Tom, Josh, Creasy, hello, how are you?
Hello.
Josh, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, actually. The last couple of weeks has been, I suppose, a little bit stranger in the sense that we've got the extended announcement for lockdown. I've seen today as well that Dominic Raab has said that this is the new normal for many months to come. So whatever we've all been doing for the last couple of weeks, I think it literally is going to be copy and paste for the next 2 weeks. In which case, Josh, what does that mean for you?
A lot more hours of work.
Right, okay. That's what I thought.
Can't complain. People have got it worse.
This is it. It's one of those situations. I think it's different for everybody. Some people are still working. Some people are working a bit. Some people aren't working at all. Many people's futures are completely, in the unknown at the moment. Creasy, how have you been?
All right, mate. Yeah, I'm all good. Mate. It's still a bit strange, isn't it? But it's I'm getting used to it now.
I know. This is what's happening with us. It's almost as if, in our house, the conversations are always. I don't know. We get caught out sometimes. We sort of think to ourselves, "Oh, should we go and do?" Oh no, we can't. Oh no. There is nowhere literally you can go, other than just walking our gorgeous little beagle. Speaking of pets as well, Josh, how's Alan? Let's start with Alan right at the top this time.
He's enjoying the weather. He's spending a lot of time outside. But yesterday morning, he jumped upon the bed. I was asleep on my front, and he just sat next to me, prodding me in the back until I woke up. I woke up, turned over, and he just sat on my chest and went to sleep. So he's all right. Good little lad.
Glad to hear it. I mean, is there any chance that he's going to make an appearance?
I doubt it. I mean, the sun's out, so he'll be sleeping in a bush somewhere.
Sounds like you, Creasy, at a weekend.
I'll tell you, mate. Yeah, it was pretty much me last night, that was.
So thank you very much to you, the fans. You've been sending us your questions. Thank you very much for those. They've been coming in on all sorts of platforms across Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. So we really, really appreciate those. And if you're taking the time to send them in, we've gone through as many as we can and we'll crack on for today. Now, one that I particularly liked, Creasy, is in reference to the podcast 2 weeks ago, was whenever you pulled out your virtual violin. I think it was to some sort of sob story.
It was Josh.
Was it Josh? Was it Josh?
Yeah, talking about how hard he's working.
So Neil Dolphin, he asked for Creasy, do you have your violin again for this podcast?
Yeah, well, it's funny, right? Yeah, because Neil Dolphin, I met him last year, and he was in the hospitality, and he gave me a pink pen. So obviously I had a lot of pink on my car last year, and so every time he writes to me on social media, it just comes up a picture of a dolphin emoji. So I always send it to him.
And so therefore, is this violin going to make an appearance though? Or
I've done
literally,
it.
Oh, you've done it already. Because again, there's four screens. I didn't quite see it. Sorry. But there's Tom's playing his miniature one. I suppose it depends if any sob stories come up, Creasy.
Go on then.
So question number 1 then. Thank you very much to Charlotte Walker. This is to all of you. If you could have any car and money is no object, what would you choose and why? Let's go to Tom first. If money was no object.
Money was no object on a serious level, honestly, it would be a Ferrari 335S Spider by Scaglietti in 1957. It was driven by Sir Sterling Moss and Mike Hawthorne at Le Mans 24 hours, and it set a lap record, and it was a 4-litre V12 with 390 horsepower. It weighed 880 kilos, and it was far better than the 250 GTO, which came out after it, which was built to a set of FI regulations, which was only allowed to be a 3-litre. So it was less horsepower, but the same weight with a higher centre of gravity. So it just wasn't as good as the 335S Spider. So that, in my mind, is the greatest car to drive as a race car and to own as a road car.
Do you own one?
No.
Does your dad own one?
There's only like 4 in the world, mate.
Has your dad got one?
No.
Is he going to buy one?
No.
Okay, so if money was no object, then any car in the world, Josh?
I'd go McLaren F1.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that it?
V12.
Which one?
The F1 road car.
There are a few different models.
I think the question is a road car, is it not?
No, because in 1998 you got the
Any car,
X5, they made it like
anything.
the restrictive fast one, and then they had different models, and then they had the GTR not racing one.
I don't think I want a GTR. I think I just want an F1 road car. Bog standard. I think I could deal with that.
I like all the wings on it. I like the.
That was just a plug because he works for him.
Creasy, what about you?
Well, mine was a Ferrari F40, but I do like Vince's Cobra in his garage, and I'm hoping if I win the British Touring Car Championship, he might give it to me.
Isn't it original AC Cobra?
Original, mate. Original. It's unbelievable.
Nice.
He did say that I could have a go in it when I won the GT4 Championship, but he seemed to have backed out now. I reminded him of it. But he took me to Goodwood in it one year, and it's he does the Silverstone Classics and all that. It's mint. It's mint. He spent a fortune on it, but it's a hell of a car.
Well, thank you very much to Charlotte Walker for that question. Some great answers. Marty Pants 16, whoever you are, Marty Pants 16. I do love the name. He goes on. I'm assuming it's a bloke. He's going on to say it's my wife's birthday today, so I want to know what's the worst present or Christmas present you've ever been given, and no copping out. He goes on to say. So Josh, would you like to go first?
It was pretty awkward. I'd have to say it was a secret Santa present I knew it was my cousin the moment that I saw it in the room. And my whole family's there, my cousins, my aunties, my uncles. And he bought me a huge blow-up doll that was already blown up. And I had to open it for everybody. And it was definitely, it wasn't, this one wasn't a base spec one. He'd gone all out on this. So they had some pretty interesting options, and then, funnily enough, I was like, "Brilliant! What do you do with the blow-up doll?" I'm like, "It looks like a pretty fancy bit of kit, so you're not just going to throw it in the bin." So I put it.
Keep it.
Give it a go.
I took it out of the wardrobe and left it on the bed,
Mm-hmm.
and I went out and I came back like later on that day, and it was just deflated, and it had huge claw marks in it, and Alan was asleep next to it on the bed.
Alan is Josh's cat, by the way, just in case you think there's some random man called Alan.
Neighbour.
Or your neighbour, yes, that just invaded this situation.
Sounds like Alan had a good time.
It does. Creasy, I dread to think what your answer is to this question. What's the worst present, birthday present or Christmas present you've ever been given?
It's got to be just the standard answer for this one, hasn't it? And it's always socks. You always, even though I get Hugo Boss socks or something like that, but it's just still a rubbish present, isn't it?
They are good though. I've had those, and to be honest with you, as far as all the socks I've ever been given over Christmas, the Hugo ones definitely are the ones.
Yeah,
you do get what you pay for. Yeah, it's not just the branding. I don't think with those ones.
I got it. Now you said it, Creasy. It's making me laugh. He asked my mum. She's not here, but like. Every single Christmas in my stocking, I get loads of socks and
it's standard.
Orange. So that year I got socks and Wellington boots. I was,
and even the orange in the bottom. That's very, very traditional. A very, very traditional way of doing things. Tom, what about you?
It's really hard not to sound ungrateful, isn't it? It's a really hard. What's your worst ever Christmas present? It's really ungrateful if you say it, but.
Could be a birthday present.
Silly secret Santa presents over the years. I had lots of silly secret Santa presents, and there's too many. I can't think of one right now. But I'm thinking about big presents, all right, as in your mum and dad presents, all right. I hope they don't ever watch this podcast. But they were very, very nice. Okay, right, they're very nice. But my main present for Christmas about 5 years ago was a pair of Wellington boots. And they were a very nice pair of Wellington boots, but that was my present for Christmas. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much. We just think boots, my mum and dad. Like,
how am I going to race a car in those?
Car and a pair of Wellington boots, yeah. They're very nice Wellington boots when we go out walking and shooting and stuff, obviously. But it's kind of one of those ones where it's just it's a silly answer, isn't it? A pair of Wellington boots is your main present. But
which, was it the right one or the left one that had the key to the Rolls Royce in?
Yeah, they hidden it, Josh. That's right. It's a trick present.
Wags.
Oh, you see, Tom.
There, Josh.
It's time for the violin, I think, Creasy. It's Tom. Tom was there. There he was as a young child thinking, all I've got is some boots. Oh no! Oh, but look at this. Oh,
He was livid because
You've
it was
always-
a black one and he wanted a white one.
You've always a dream, and seriously, like, I wish there was some keys, but no keys.
right, lads. The next one comes from Shaz Babes 2. So I don't know who Shaz Babes 1 is, or maybe even 3, but Shaz Babes 2 would like to know from each of you, if you could go on a road trip anywhere in the world, where would it be? Who'd like to start?
Route 66.
I was going to say that.
In a Mustang convertible.
Right, yeah, okay. Okay. Creasy, are you joining Josh in the Mustang?
Well, I've heard a lot about this Route 66, and I'm definitely up for doing it with Josh in a Mustang if anyone wants to pay for it.
Yes.
I've done part of it, but that was in a truck. It wasn't quite the same, although I have done the whole Mustang thing when I've been out in the States. Tom, what about you? Road trip, anywhere. Where would you go?
I would go California, Route 1, and I'd go from San Francisco along the Big Sur, past Monterey, Laguna Seca, go all the way down to LA and then across to Las Vegas, and I'll do it in AC Cobra.
Is that
yeah?
Route 6?
Actually, Josh, I'm going with him.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
There's some great spots along there, though. I mean, if you've ever been fortunate enough to drive down the coast of California from San Francisco, like Half Moon Bay, and just when you get south of Santa Cruz and stuff, some of the rocks, some of the scenery and stuff, it's a great place. Funny that we've all picked America, though, for our road trip. Hey!
Hey.
Bonnie wants to say hi.
Yeah, Creasy,
Hey,
introduce us.
This is Bonnie, and she's, how old are you? 4.
Hello, Bonnie.
I didn't know the answer to that question. I just wanted her to say it, by the way.
Bonnie, here's a question for you if you'd like to join in. If you could take a road trip anywhere, that means driving a car anywhere in the whole world, where would you go? Where would you like to take your car?
Where would you go in the world? Where do you like the best? Come on, quick.
I don't know.
You don't know.
Don't know.
Disneyland? No?
Oh,
Here we go. Yes, you take a road trip to Disneyland. Which one?
You can't have a cake now.
Yeah, she's not interested in this podcast anymore. She just wants cakes.
Sorry about that.
Bonnie, you're adorable. Thank you very much for your appearance. Oh, thanks very much, Shaz Babes, too, for your question. Clive Muir, this one is racing related. Do you left foot brake in your BTC Honda Civic? Who'd like to start?
Yeah, I do.
No,
Answer.
I don't.
It's interesting because we had this conversation when we was testing in Spain, and Josh seems to think Josh obviously left foot brakes as well in other cars that he drives, but he said that he just finds the Honda Civic Type R, just the transition from having that split second from the brake to the accelerator, it just balances the car a little bit better, which I've yet to try yet, but I'm sure that, you know, Josh is a very talented driver and there's obviously a reason for it.
Josh, can you expand on that?
It's more NGTC cars are really sensitive to brake pressure. I've got slightly better feel with my right foot than my left, and like I say, it forces you to have little pauses in places that you perhaps, or I know that I probably would rough otherwise. So if you're really strict with yourself, I don't think there's any difference between the two, but it works for me.
I mean, Tom, I've only ever tried this once in my own car. That was a Ford Focus. I'll never do it again.
I bet you nearly hit your head on the steering wheel.
Yeah, it was on a wide open straight country road in Berkshire, and I thought, I could probably test it down here. I mean, I could have ended up in a ditch, but it's something I'll never do again. But then that's because I've no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, but the brake pedals are slightly different in a road car to what we have. Obviously, they got this. I'm talking like I know things, Josh, but I probably don't. But isn't it a thing called a servo?
That's right. Yeah.
We haven't got them on the race cars, so we have to put in about 60 bar of pressure. Is that correct, Josh?
Yeah,
65,
right.
70 bar.
Yeah,
to get them to work. So there you go. I'm learning.
Lads, if you could pick any track in the world, so any track at all in the world to race on, which would it be and why? So I don't think we're just restricted to 4 wheels here.
Mm-hmm. I'd go, obviously, I've been lucky I've got to drive a lot of tracks around the world, but one that I will always want to race at has got to be Le Mans. Just iconic. Obviously, it's I just want to do the Le Mans 24-hour. I've been, like I said, I've been lucky to go to other circuits around the world, from Bahrain to Europe to America to all over the place. But I still just, Le Mans is the one that I think is the big bucket list for any professional driver.
Creasy, what about you? Any track in the world?
Well, my favourite track in the world is Spa. I used to go all the time to watch the Formula One there, but I've never actually been round there. So I'd love to go through Eau Rouge, in something pretty quick and feel that adrenaline. But also, Le Mans is definitely on the list, and hopefully Steve Dudman's watching this, because I think he wants us to all go there and race there too. So.
Tom, what about you? I'm interested in this one.
So I've raced in 16 countries, and I can honestly say the best racetrack in the world is the Nordschleife in Germany. It is definitely the best racetrack in the world. It's got 166 corners, with only 6 corners which have gravel traps. It's basically barriers, trees, a lot of blind corners. Some of the corners you're full throttle and 6th gear. You hit the rev limiter because you take off and you land, and it has a squirm. Then as you turn it starts drifting. You keep your right foot flat on throttle and you left foot brake and settle it as you drift in. And you almost touch little bits of grass the other side of the white line because you're right on the limit, and it's wild. It's definitely the best racetrack in the world.
That left foot braking coming in there. Sorry, Tom, while you're answering that as well, Josh is being accosted by his dog. So, no, I mean...
Another iconic track, Imola.
Yeah,
that's good.
It is a great track.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, marred by the Senna incident, I think, on that particular one. I just get sad because of that. Next question then. This is from, I think it's Yardawali. So, we've had some great names too. If you could spend a day with 2 or 3 classic race cars from any category, what would it be? So should we go for 2 cars or 3 cars? It's up to you. But if you could spend a day with any 2 or 3 cars, classic race cars from any category, what would it be? Josh, would like to start.
Okay, so the Mazda 787B, Le Mans rotary engine, sounds insane. I'd go for McLaren F1 car, probably the MP4, and I'd go with the Super Touring Laguna, I think. So get a nice little range there from single seaters to and touring cars. So those are my 3. I've never driven anything really close to any of them either, so it'd be good fun.
And proportionately, would you want to drive more for a longer time than some of the others?
I think I'd do a couple of laps in the F1 car, and I think I'd do a bit longer in the obviously Mazda 787, and I'd love just to go hacking in the touring car.
Creasy, what about you, my friend?
I've always had a little soft spot for the Williams FW15, is it? I believe. And that was always a car when I was growing up, obviously battling with the McLaren. So that was one car I'd love to drive. And the Ford Mondeo touring car was mega, what Mansell drove. So I'd love to have a go in that.
Tom, what about you?
Obviously, after talking about our favourite car, if we had all the money in the world to buy, was that Ferrari 335S Spider. Just because it set the lap record at Le Mans, it was driven by Sir Sterling Moss and Mike Hawthorne. So that's definitely the car I'd like to drive. If you can get one, there's only one of 4 in the world. I'd definitely like that one. And I'd love to also drive Colin McRae's Random. It's the ugliest of the Subarus, and his first one in 1993. It was the Legacy RS. It was what I call the ugly Subaru before you had the nice 555 logos on the newer Impreza. But that car, if you actually watch it on YouTube, the way it turns in, and it took them that year, it was until like the 8th round where Colin won the New Zealand round. I think it was. That's when they got the car sorted. It was them beating the Toyota, and it was rapid. At that point then, with that setup, I want to drive that rally car for half a day because it looked like a go-kart. It just oversteered on the exits. It just insane rotation. It just looked like it handled perfectly. I'd love to drive that. And I think it'd have to be a modern day F1 car. I was umming and ahhing about modern day F1 car and the Audi Quattro Super Touring car on the basis that all my touring cars I've raced have been rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, never a four-wheel drive. So part of me wants to drive, Frank Biella or Pirro's old Quattro Super Tourer, but I think just for raw speed to see what it is like in a modern day F1 car, I think it'd have to be probably like Lewis Hamilton's, for example.
Yeah, I think mine would be a Lamborghini Diablo. I'd love to have a go in one of those. The A-Team van, just for the sake of like seeing if I could drive it like BA. And I think Kit from Knight Rider.
Yes, mate.
Yeah, just because then when you get bored, Kit can just drive himself.
Yeah, brilliant. Good choice. Like that.
That'd be mine. Okay, next question then is from All I Do Is Talk, spelt in the sense of Torque. Funniest paddock memory, Josh?
Weekends are so formal and so strict in terms of everybody's focus so much, but it's got to be something with Paul O'Neill involved. All the Facebook lives were mega. They were always entertaining. I think a couple of years ago, me and Paul ended up doing a bit of like a dance video. That was quite funny, but it's hard to pinpoint a single one, but it's got to be something to do with Paul O'Neill.
Creasy.
I wished I answered before Josh, because the last 3 questions he said my answers first. But yeah, I mean, obviously we all know that I've done the Facebook Live with Paul O'Neill this year, and we just had such crack that every Saturday, even the one we had with Josh and Jade Edwards was especially funny. And but there was one time I think we were getting down breakdancing with the Colin Turkington kids, and it was quite funny.
Tom, what's your funniest paddock memory? I mean, there's many different paddocks in your career.
Lots, yeah. It's probably Brands Hatch 2003. I was Honda racing. I was teammates with Matt Neal and Alan Morrison in the Honda Civic Type R, and I was currently running late for practice because Morrison and Neal thought it was the funniest thing in the world to tie about 19 knots in my shoelaces, my race boots. And they're getting in the car. I'm still untying these knots. They weren't like normal knots. It's like Matt had one string and Alan had the other, and they're pulling them as hard as possible. And I'm trying to run around the paddock barefoot, trying to get these knots out these boots as they're all getting their belts on and their helmets on. And I'm currently there in just my socks. And I'm trying to get these boots on. I reckon that was probably the funniest memory for me.
Oh, the old classic schoolboy tricks are always the best, aren't they?
I've actually got another one that's it was quite funny. Not at the time, but looking back at it, this was a couple of years ago. I think it was 2018. I was in my motorhome, and I think it was Saturday morning. So obviously we had to get out for FP1, and I jumped in the shower in the motorhome in the morning. And as I closed the door, I didn't know, but the travel latch swung round and locked on the outside of the shower. The motorhome door's locked, and I'm stuck in the cubicle. And I was literally in there for about, quick 5-minute shower, and I'm in there for like 20 minutes trying to get out. Nothing I can do, nothing I can force the door open. I didn't have my phone on me, nothing. In the end, I ended up taking the shower head off, unscrewing it and swinging it around like a lasso and managing to open it up. But I told the team about this, that I got stuck in there. So during the day, one of the truckies went into my motorhome and stuck one of those little glass shower, or the glass hammers, stuck it inside the shower. It's like an emergency get out. So I was literally like, how long has that been there? I didn't even know. They didn't tell me. They just snuck in and did it.
You always tempted at school, weren't you? To see those little hammers dangling down from the fire things at school. Somebody always did it at some point.
Yeah.
It was always very, very, very tempting.
When Josh said he had a shower at the racetrack and it was a funny moment, but not at the time, I thought he was going to say when he opened the door, all of his clothes had gone. And how? That's what I thought you were going to say.
Ian Clark would like to know, your neighbours, do your neighbours know that they're living next to a racing driver?
Mine do. On the
You haven't got any. You ain't got no neighbours, have you?
No. I have a lot of packages. I order a lot of things off Amazon Prime, even like my food and condiments I order through Amazon Prime these days because it's cheaper and next day delivery. The boxes get delivered, and my neighbours are amazing, and they pick up the boxes for me very kindly to look after them. And they were like, "Where were you?" And I was like, "I was here, Silverstone." And they were like, and then after the time, the cogs turned, they now watch me live on TV, so they now all know that I'm a racing driver.
Do you think they like you more because you're a racing driver and do that sort of, you know, the way people can be sort of slightly sycophantic sometimes, or do you think they just would like you regardless if you know, whatever profession you did?
So
Everybody on my road is old. They don't care. Everyone on my road has been living in their houses for like 40 years each. So they've got beautifully maintained gardens. All the children have left, you know. So,
so you're just new money to them then, Tom?
I'm just new money, mate.
Yeah.
So just to come clean on this, Ian Clark is my neighbour.
Ah, there you are then. So you've been routed by. So Ian Clark obviously does know that you know, Josh, that your neighbour knows that you're living next to, or he's living next to a racing driver. Creasy, your neighbours, funnily enough, haven't been in touch. Why is that?
My neighbours don't like me because I've got a 36-foot camper on the drive.
And it's always shady in the garden.
Creasy 777 written on the back. I've just moved, and I used to have my camper. Obviously, my old house, I used to have quite a big house. So I used to have it on the driveway or parked out the front. And then when I moved here, Jodie went, "Nah, you can't take it down here," because I've moved into a cul-de-sac, and it's like a neighbourhood watch area, and I brought it home literally about a month ago to get it all ready for the season to start for media day, and it didn't go down very well.
Can imagine. People went and specially bought a south-facing house, and then you park your 36-foot home motorhome, and now every day is like winter.
But to be fair, my next door neighbour, he's all right. He's all right. They're all old, like you say. There are quite a lot of old people down here, but they're it's all good. I love it. To be fair, I don't know if they love it so much.
Okay, now Gillian Bunce, we asked for a question, but she sent us many, so I don't know whether or not you want to pick which one you'd like to answer from some of these. I mean, what's the fastest speed you've ever driven in a race car, Josh?
It's over 200 mile an hour. I went round. There's been a few occasions. There was Monza in a McLaren P1 GTR. That was over 200 miles an hour. And I'm not sure where else was actually. But yeah, it's over 200. It's probably 205 or something like that.
What does that feel like?
It's really weird. Everything. It depends on the speed that you're accelerating, because you're accelerating all the way up to the speed. Everything was kind of like a blur that wasn't perfectly in front of you, especially on the shape of the windscreen of the car. But once you kind of get up to that speed and settle down at that speed, it's kind of gets a bit more comfortable. But any movement on the wheel at that sort of speed has a massive effect on the car, so you have to be super careful. But yeah, in a race car, or a track car, it's over 200 miles an hour.
Yeah. So not something that we should be attempting ourselves. Tom, other than having racing driver on your CV, what else is on there that would surprise people? That's also from Gillian.
It would surprise you that there is only racing driver on my CV.
There we go. That's it.
Got a good one.
Okay, go on, Creasy.
I'm qualified in body massage.
Mate, are you?
Yeah, body massage, sports therapy, sports massage, personal trainer,
golf caddy.
Yeah,
I feel like turning my red light on, Creasy. You know, just do the whole massage thing. There we are. We can get this. That sounds wonderful. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, down a bit.
Yeah, who would have thought that, eh?
No, well, no.
Do you know what the method in my madness was, right?
Go on.
Because obviously I didn't really want to go to work when I left school, so I thought I'll go to college. And then when I was enrolled in college, if you went to sports massage, it was or body massage, there was 25 women in the class with me, and it was brilliant. So every Wednesday I used to be like, yeah, girls, happy days. It's unbelievable. Why wouldn't anyone do that? You get it?
Brilliant. I love it.
Speaking of girls, Tom, we had a question from Mike at Hogbin, who would like to know, take me out. Why, he says.
Why? I actually did it purely for sponsorship reasons. I linked everything together. So I did the BBC Top Gear episode where I was on it twice in that hour. So I was racing Clarkson in the M3, and then I was rolling the double-decker bus and the other bit of it with the other touring car drivers. Then I went straight on the following week to do Take Me Out. Take Me Out, I did the first ever, the first episode they filmed, basically, which was at Granada Studios, which is the same place they filmed X Factor. And Talkback 10's TV made X Factor. They made Take Me Out, and I knew I'd get the same 6 million views by going on the following weekend. And I was very close to signing a contract with Skorshkov, which is a hair gel company. And if you actually go pick up a hair gel Skorshkov in the shop and you turn it around, in the small print, it does say helmet hair proof. And I was so close to getting that, but it fell through last minute, sadly. But I was purely doing it for getting more PR. Between the two shows, I was getting 10 million views. So. Yeah, she was a nice girl, mate. She was a nice girl. I met up a couple of times afterwards, went to Harlequins because she was looking after the Harlequins rugby team, which actually played Twickenham playing Wasps. It was a great rugby game, and she was running across the pitch, and I remember an eagle was following her randomly. And then we went out for drinks afterwards.
It sounds weird.
Pretty random. She was a cool girl, lots of fun things, but she was older than me, and I've always been into women who are a few years younger than me. So that was it in my mind. So
now, Josh, just turning attention to you for a second here. One other thing that we must mention, your half marathon, you've been raising money. Tell us all about this.
That was a world of pain. Don't do it.
Right.
No,
okay.
it was a stupid thing to do from my part, really, because I knew that there was a bunch of the guys from the BRDC, the British Race Drivers Club, that were all kind of joining together to run their own half marathons around near where they lived or locally. And I think it was either the night before or I started to think maybe I should give that a go. I've never run really further than, I don't think I'd run 10K prior to that. I've done some 5Ks, but you know, I'm not a runner. I do other forms of exercise to try and keep fit, but I don't do a huge amount of cardio. And I just decided kind of on the morning, I thought, oh, do you know what? I'll give it a go. And I picked a terrible route, and it had huge elevation to it. And I just kept going, kept my head down, just plodded through and managed to complete it. But so I was pretty pleased with that. But more importantly, I think as of this morning, it clocked over to, we raised, I think it was 50 drivers in total from the BRDC and or guests that were invited. And we raised just over £35,000.
And I mean, that's amazing, because the figure I had, there was that it had gone over 30,000. So that's what I wanted to ask you, was what the latest figures were. And this is all to raise funds. Is it just specifically for the NHS?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, well, that's absolutely wonderful, Josh. And we all literally, well, I don't have a cap on, but we would, and Tom, I'm sure, would do as well, but we sort of, doff our cap to you. What a great effort. There you go. Right, then, to wrap up then, our fans Q&A, and thank you once again for sending your questions in. It's been brilliant to have your interaction. Debbie Palmer would like to know, scones, is it jam first, then clotted cream, or is it clotted cream, then jam?
Clotted cream, then jam. You can't do it the other way. Jam soaks into the scone and just ruins it.
Fastest cake in the world, scone.
So I got a couple of answers for this. I want to try and make it short, but it's quite tricky. So I go to Cornwall a lot, and I have cream teas quite regularly. And there's a couple of things. So a scone is dry. It is a dry form of bread, basically. And having lots of gooey, creamy cream on it first helps moisten it when it first goes in your mouth. But with the jam on the top, it always touches your top lip, and then it gets all sticky. So you think, bloody hell, so you really need to do it the other way around. So you actually need to do it the jam and then the cream.
This is the biggest first world problem I've ever heard.
You need a lot of jam to make sure that the scone stays nice and moist before you put the cream on. But cream, as you know, doesn't balance very well on top of
It's
jam.
a well-known fact.
So it does then go back to the fact that it should be cream and then jam. Just open your gob before we put it in.
When we go down Route 1, can you bring the scones and the jam? Is that
right?
Clotted
cream, mate, and some decent strawberry jam. Sorted.
Clattering around out the back, trying to make these clotted creams in the right order. I suppose it's like a decent cup of tea, really. On that subject as well of scones, scone or scone, Josh? How do you say it?
I don't know, really. I kind of change. I use both.
Okay, Creasy?
So I use both. Depends whose company I'm in. If I was with Tom's dad, I'd use Scone.
Okay, and Tom?
It is Scone. The answer's
Okay.
Scone. Yeah.
All right, and then further to that then, where we should have been then, Silverstone or Silverstone? Josh?
Silverstone.
Right. Creasy?
Silverstone.
Tom?
Silverstone.
There we have it. There we have it. See,
How can it be?
how
Say-
conclusive.
say
Oh,
Stone.
Silverstone.
I've got stones outside in the garden.
Josh Silverstone.
Yeah,
No, Silverstone. It's I mean, I don't know. How do I? Yeah, I think I say Silverstone as well. So, Josh, I'm with you. That's 2-2. We're out of time, gentlemen.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much for your time once again. It's been brilliant to have your company for the third podcast in our series of the BTC Racing Line. If you'd like to get involved, please do. Please watch and share on any of our social media platforms, and please comment as well. Keep those coming as well. We love to hear from you. You, the fans, are what makes podcasts like this so special. So, from myself, Rory McAllister, from Josh, goodbye.
Bye.
Creasy, cheerio.
See you later. See you next time.
And Tom, look after yourself.
Thank you. Stay safe.
As well. We will see you next time when we should have been at Thruxton for the next in our series of the BTC Racing Line. So from myself, from the 3 drivers, from everybody at the team, keep liking, keep watching, keep sharing. It's great to have you involved, and we'll see you next time.
The BTC Racing Line for the fans.